We made this.
Hello and welcome to Right in the Childhood, the podcast about kids' TV and nostalgia and kind of sort of generational differences but similarities too, right here on the We Made This Podcast network. I'm Mark and I'm your host. Fraser's not with me today because what we're doing is to celebrate our 1 year anniversary, which we've realised we're doing a month late. So, we're posting some of the stuff that we had on our Patreon. Our Patreon didn't do as well as we would like, and not many people got to listen to these episodes when we recorded them about 12 months ago. So what we thought we'd do is to celebrate our 1 year anniversary, is we thought we'd post them on our main feed so that you can access them. You've already had the tripods a fortnight ago where we had a look at the tripods where I'd watched it and Fraser hadn't, and I'd watched the entire run and kind of like it was a revisit because I'd binged it. And we're flipping that because Fraser's watched all of Recess and I haven't. So what we did was we basically flipped what we did for the tripods episode, and Fraser's main host and takes us through his thoughts, and I kind of sidekick it, basically. But yeah, 1 year and a bit of Right in the Childhood. Celebrate good times, come on. Do. Anyway, yeah, enjoy this episode. It's our revisit of Recess.
Dun 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 dun. Wait, Mark, can you hear that? It's the bell. It's time for Right in the Childhood Patreon exclusive.
Exclusive, you say?
Exclusive, yeah.
Hello to our lovely Patreons, all our many fan.
Our many fan. Those who like guacamole with their burrito, that little bit extra. Always get guac with the burrito.
I don't like guacamole. I'm all about the refried beans instead. Guacamole.
Mind you though, right, this is a tangent. I feel guacamole is very much... I don't want to... It's. I feel like it's my generation and your generation has hummus.
Oh, I love hummus.
See, that's what I mean.
Guacamole tastes of green misery. I don't like avocado. Whereas chickpea rules the world.
Well, that's what I mean. We both have... I like hummus too, I'm not going to lie, but that's because I'm a vegetarian.
We're both vegetarian.
But we both have that vegetable that's somehow become this mush, which doesn't really look appetising at first, but then you throw it in stuff, and it's amazing.
I
don't get the hype over avocado toast.
No, I like...
I won't pay like £10 for it.
No, I'm just not into avocado. It tastes like misery.
But what about it in a burrito?
No, mate.
Alright, so for those of you who like hummus in your burrito, or hummus in your pita, mind you, they don't charge extra for hummus. I hope in the future, when the next one comes, maybe the next generation, the Generation Zoom, you know, because
is that what they're calling it?
The Zoomers.
Is that what they're calling it? Gen Z? The Zoomers? Is that what they're calling
after Gen Z.
Oh, is this after Gen Z?
The Zoomers. Yeah, because they're probably going to have to spend most of their life on Zoom.
Oh, fucking hell.
That was a joke, I think.
I hope not.
The Zoomers. But anyway, I reckon the next generation are going to have like another thing that's going to be like a plant-based mush. Maybe they'll be
everything will be plant-based by the time we die.
Maybe they'll be really into like mushy peas.
Let's
and
not
they'll charge 75p for mushy peas.
I do love mushy peas.
And put mushy peas on toast.
75p. That's cheap. No, but let's not have the kind of climate change. We're both hippie veggie. Let's talk about lefty fuckers.
Let's talk about the political and social dynamic
of Recess.
Of Recess, yeah. It's, you know, a social philosophical cartoon, apparently.
So what we've done is, last month, I binged all of the tripods, and you'd seen no more since we recorded the first episode.
Did not touch it with a
And this time,
pole or a tripod.
this time we've completely reversed it. I have watched no Recess. So
I think it's important to point out that you did like Recess.
I did though. I did like Recess. It's very good, but I just didn't want to watch any more. We reversed it. Take it away, Fraser. Tell me some stuff. I didn't know.
Recess is very interesting because, for this part anyway, because when we watched the episodes, obviously my YouTube was listening and gave me a suggested video, and it was someone deeply exploring how philosophical Recess is. They compared it to what's the one where all the kids eat each other? You know that.
Do you mean Lord of the
Flies? They
like the kindergarten kids.
Well, no, they compared the sort of like storytelling tropes to Lord of the Flies, but with less eating of kids. You know, sort of like how they made this world that's based around ours, but all based around a playground. So like there's kings, there's King Bob.
Yeah.
There's like the kindergarten kids that are seen as like the savages. You know, there's the different rankings and stuff like different social dynamics and different rules behind it all, and to live in a continuous like community, they all had to work together.
Right.
When a lot of the episodes revolve around like one thing changing and proving to be damaging to the whole ecosystem, like one of the Finster, whenever she's ill.
So the playground is an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, that is so cool. And when I was rewatching it, I was going, it is, because every episode, like I say, we have an episode where Miss Finster's like the cruel teacher. She's always like enforcing the rules, but they get her distracted. One time when she's injured, one time when she's in love with the janitor Hank, and because she's distracted, the whole playground goes off course and it turns into a riot.
So would you say they do a lot of cat amongst the pigeon type storylines then?
Yeah, it's really cool. There's one episode I really want to touch upon, and it's one where they discuss the kids' code of honour, and the whole story is based off like basically a food fight is started, and they need to work out who started it, and Gus saw who did it. Gus saw who started it, so he could tell, and everyone but the kids' code of conduct is don't tell, or you're a tattletale like Randall.
Right.
Which is why Randall is socially,
Oh, I liked Randall.
Well, that's why he's shunned away. We'll talk about some Randall episodes that'll give you a smile on your face. But so he's shunned away and stuff like that. And everyone's telling Gus, don't do it. They're trying to protect his friend and stuff like that. The kid's code of honour, if you break it, no kid will ever be on your side again. And there's a nice little twist at the end, where it turns out that Gus, like, Finster interrogates every single child and said, if no one tells me, you're all in trouble. And Finster goes, I know who did it, and it was Randall. And they're like, what? Oh no. It's like, how did you know? And Gus was like, I didn't tell her. And Finster goes, yeah, Gus was the only kid who didn't tell me. Everyone else did. So it just shows that despite all this code, and everyone's like, no, you've got to follow the code, but no one actually follows the code. Does that sound familiar? In the 2020...
Let's not
go about that.
But no,
I thought, watching that episode, I was like, especially because of the times we were in, I was like, okay, this is code that we're all supposed to follow. And like, Gus gets all wound up because he's done it. Honestly, this episode would have been right up your alley. I think you would have felt for Gus so much.
I think this really kind of continues what my first impression of Recess was, that they have quite thoughtful and very human condition themes and storylines that will resonate with everybody, even though it's a kid's show with a bunch of kids in it. That impresses me, and like I said at the time, I would happily have Recess on any time when, background or anything. I just haven't watched any since. It's not that I don't want to.
No, that's why it was for me as well. Like, it was something to, put on the background or something like that. Or if I was working on an article or something, or if I just had a bit of free time, I'd stick it on. And it was so convenient. It's like 20-minute episodes. So sometimes I'd either come home from work and I'd just, stick a bit of Recess on, as you're starting to set yourself ready to sleep. Or if I woke up early, I'd watch an episode. But I think it was very convenient that it was 20 minutes and it wasn't an ongoing storyline. There was all these different things, and you really do, you fall in love with these characters and sort of all the journeys. And like I say, each character has their own episodes that are focused on them. We touched upon Gretchen episodes, which were great. There is a Randall episode where he's having a birthday party and he's convinced his dad that he's this super popular person. And he's told all these lies, and TJ and all the gang are like, "Oh no, we should help Randall because again, it's a really nice world that they've got here because all kids stick together no matter what the differences are." And TJ's like, "Oh, we should do," but then when he's found out all the lies Randall's have been saying, he's like, "What? No, Randall didn't do that." And it's like, "Yeah, Randall said from this, you used to be a bully," and it's like, "No, that's not who we were. Randall's just." But then it turns out Randall's dad was actually disappointed that he wasn't a snitch, and then when he found out he was a snitch, was dead happy. And it's like, it's nice, like,
right. So
you know, it
again,
was one of them be yourself,
yeah,
be yourself sort of thing, which was nice. And just all the characters and how they help each other, like all the different situations they put in. Spinelli's like jokingly entered into a beauty pageant against the other Ashleys, and instead of mocking her, the team worked together to like actually beat the Ashleys and stuff like that. And Vince sometimes gets categorised as just, oh, he's just a token black character, you know, he's the jock or whatever. But like, he shows real care for his friends and stuff like that. And there's all these different dynamics, and not one character on there, even the side characters are just, you know, one dimensional. They all got their own little spots. And I noticed there was a little bit of a romance between Gus and Cornchip Girl. And I was like,
Gus and who?
Cornchip Girl. I don't know if you met her. She was like, she's a little girl. She wears the blue dress. But they did a bit of a Romeo and Juliet thing with them. Actually, it was kind of cute. So Gus's dad, I believe, works in the army. Cornchip Girl's works in the navy. So there was that rivalry there.
Right.
I was like, Lieutenant, you can't hang out with them. But them two were hanging out in secret and like, oh, no one can know. And I was like, this is a forbidden romance. But it was like forbidden friendship, and I thought it was dead cute. And I was curious because, you know, the world we live in. Mm-hmm. People like to ship. People like to write fan fiction or whatever. I was like, I wonder if there's anything in this. Oh my goodness, I literally typed in Gus in Cornchip Girl, and then boom, the whole internet just exploded. And I was like, okay, yeah.
Shipping is everywhere.
Yeah, and then there was like TJ and Spinelli stuff, and I was like, no,
I bet I could find tripod shipper stuff if I looked hard enough.
What, between all the tripods?
No, maybe Beanpole and Henry got it on while Fritz and Will were in the tripod city.
I thought you were going to say watched while they watched.
Maybe.
No, let's not. But yeah, honestly, and then like I watched the movies as well just to get a little bit of extra, and the stuff in that was like, it was really good stuff, like Standing Up Against the Man, and like we watched the Halloween one, and it was like, you know, you're never too old to enjoy Halloween. When you get to a certain age where maybe you pass the enjoyment on, it's similar to like with Christmas. It's like you go from like wanting to see Santa and wanting to see all the elves to being an elf, and and like passing that joy on. And the other recess stories in the recess film, like taking the 5th grade, they were really looking forward to 5th grade, but the whole school changes, like the playground gets pavement overed, their favourite teacher changes, and it's all these big changes happen, and TJ takes a stand against it, and he just shows like, you know, you protest, and it can, you know, sometimes it can work. All the kids stand together in support of TJ. Even the teacher, Principal Prickly, he's about to get a new job somewhere, and he goes, "Nope, I've got to stay the course." And it's really nice. And there's one with another one that's a little precinct before that, where TJ gets, he always says womps because he couldn't, you know, he didn't want to get in trouble for saying a bad word, so they made up the word womps, and they try and censor womps, and it deals with whole like censorship and like.
I think I'd enjoy that episode.
Yeah, it's like how words become offensive in a way and stuff like that, and he's like, no, I used it as this way and stuff like that. And honestly, it was so beautiful to watch. The Ashley episode, I don't know if we watched it or if we just mentioned it.
We mentioned it, we didn't see the Ashleys.
Yeah, so the Ashley's episode was really good. So we found out that Spinelli's an Ashley, and they just torturize her. They make one of the Ashleys, but it's one of them where like she clearly doesn't fit in here. They're trying to dress her up and stuff like that. They're basically using her as a maid, but then everyone stands up and they all change their name legally to Ashley, so they all invade the Ashley thing.
What, the boys as well?
Yeah, all
because
Ashley's
all
the boys changed their name to Ashley.
Ashley's a unisex name.
Ashley, yeah, they all changed their name to it, and It's really nice and...
It's interesting, actually, because British-wise, the Ashley is more of a male name, whereas in America, Ashley, I think, is more female.
Yeah, it is. Ashley Tisdale, shout out there to her. She was a Disney actress. She was in High School Musical, she was in Sweet Life for Zack and Cody, and she was in Phineas and Ferb.
I've heard of
Oh.
High School Musical.
Oh, I feel like you'd like all three of them, and you're probably going to have to watch all three of them.
Inevitably.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah, one thing I did notice as well, like watching the season just ends. Like the last episode just ends. And
So there's no conclusion?
No, there's nothing. It's just like, just stops, and then you get the films, obviously. The films have a nice ending.
Right.
There's one where it's like a summer thing, and they're all going to summer camps and stuff like that, and TJ's left alone. Yeah, so there's this evil, I think he's like a principal or something, or he's working for the government, and he's voiced by James Woods, and he wants to end summer.
Who's James Woods?
It's hard to explain him. He's a well-known actor, but he was a big thing in Family Guy, like...
Okay.
He played himself, and he was like obsessed with Peter and stuff like that, but he's an iconic... You'd hear his voice and you'd know.
Right.
I'm trying to think what he's been in apart from Family Guy and Recess. But anyway, he... people who listen to this, but yeah, James Woods. But yeah, so he's trying to end... It gets proper sci-fi. He's trying to end summer by moving the sun so that they have America has a permanent summer, and there's no... Trying to eliminate recess because he's got these test results from a country that's got no sunlight and they test better or whatever.
Right.
And they all fight for recess and stuff like that. Even Principal Prickly gets on side, and it's that thing of no one believes TJ at first, and he's all alone because all his friends are at camp and they all come back. And it was a nice thing because it reminded me of how important summer vacations used to be. Summer holidays, that's the time to spend with your friends. Like, yeah, you get these 15 minutes a day and you get your lunch breaks, but this whole summer you had them all, like, yourself and stuff like that.
From what you're saying, the whole person discovers something and then it takes a while for them to convince other people.
Yeah.
That's really, really tropey.
Yeah.
But I do feel like Recess took tropey stuff, but really did well with it.
Yeah, and they also love to do a good like movie reference, like they do an All President's Men sort of thing, and
right?
All that. There's a lot of like film references in there, like film parody episodes. Obviously, we touched upon one with the Gretchen one,
which was brilliant.
Also, they take the mick out of their creators so much. Paul and Joe, like there's so many little jokes. Like one of the Ashley's ones is like, "Oh, I'll probably end up dating a guy called Paul or Joe." And as a kid, you wouldn't pick that up. But as an adult, it's like, hey. And they always are like there to make fun of the creators.
Do you feel like that you've seen something new on the rewatch?
Yeah, definitely. And it's made me grow to appreciate it more. Obviously, I was always going to love it as a kid and I was always going to think of it fondly. But rewatching it's made it, like my love for it grow even more. And I recommend it. Even if it's not Recess, if you have a show that you do fondly remember, I recommend going back to it because it might be a Recess situation where you do find deeper things and you find more. Like you found it with Red Dwarf on your other podcast. It might just be a tripod situation where like, yeah, it's got its faults, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what...
I recently rewatched all of Nightmare for a guest spot on a podcast called Play Your Pods Right.
Yeah.
And I only had to watch one episode. But I watched
all
the 100+ episodes of it. And we won't do Nightmare because I've done it there, but I think you'd have probably been intrigued by Nightmare as a concept. Do you remember Nightmare at all?
No.
Right.
I remember the concept of nightmares.
No, it's spelled Knight.
I know, I had a feeling it would have been.
But this is something that I've been consistently surprised by. We've never heard or watched any of each other's shows. And there's not that huge an age difference.
No,
it's 15 years? 17 years?
The thing is as well, could you imagine if we did have a bigger age difference, how even massively different it would have been? It is crazy to think. And sometimes it only takes a few years. Like there's some stuff that some people think is from my childhood that I was like, no, I just missed out on.
Yeah.
Like either one way or the other. And it's the same with you. Like I'll say, oh, did you watch this? And you're like, no, that wasn't. like when we were talking about Halloween stuff, you were like, oh no, that was a bit too far gone for me. I was like, but that's, I was going to say well old, but I was like, but that's so established and so long serving or whatever, and it's not. Like, I think of, even if we look at Christmas stuff, like I think of Home Alone, of like being, well, maybe not as old, because that was like the 90s.
No, I remember seeing Home Alone. Remember, Macaulay Culkin's my age.
Yeah.
So when he was the kid,
Yeah.
I was the same age as him.
Yeah, and that to me is like, yeah, I don't know what it is really. Like, Home Alone's one of those interesting ones though, because it does feel like, it doesn't feel old, but it feels like established. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it's always been there, but it still feels like, oh, that wasn't that long ago.
Well, last year it was Macaulay Culkin's 40th birthday. He posted on Twitter, "I'm 40. Do you feel old?"
Yeah,
which is brilliant.
Love that.
He's so self-aware. I like Macaulay Culkin.
There was a sad thing that I didn't touch upon in the last podcast when we talked about recess. I think it's a good point to maybe bring up now, but unfortunately the actor who played Mikey passed away.
Good grief.
And that was kind of a sad.
How old was he?
Only young, 30s, 40s. Like,
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was really sad to see, but there's a lot of like positive messages out there and stuff like that, and obviously like being a part of so many people's childhoods, it's great, especially the Mikey character as well.
He was cool.
He was a good one. But yeah, it was so good to rewatch it all and it all be as good as the stuff we watched as well. Because I think, I don't know if you had that fear as well with tripods, where it's like, oh, I'm only like, yeah, I love that, and you were so hyped for it, and then you watched it and you was like, yeah, I'm still hyped for it.
I think it's a different experience with an ongoing plot compared to standalone episodes. Yeah. But still, yes, there was I wanted to watch this. I wanted it to continue to entertain me, and it did. So, yeah.
And it was that cheeky Disney Plus that said, continue watching Recess, and I was like, you know what? Yes, I will. And it acted as a nice little recess for me as well, because it's 20 minutes,
Nice little break for you.
Recess.
Break.
Yeah, recess.
Break.
I have been back at work, and when I'd say I'm on my break, I'd go, I'm on my recess.
You are the most ludicrous human being I know.
And that theme song, love it.
Yeah, it's alright.
I used to go around work humming it song. What? This is while I was binging it.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm thinking about
Tripod
doing.
theme's better.
No, it's not even a thing. Hum the tripod theme. Oh yeah, I got chills. Does it end in a as well?
Whatever.
But no, I am also thinking about doing a TJ cosplay.
Get on it.
I think the backwards cap, the white shirt, and I could dig that. I could definitely see it. Who knows? I think we could. That's a thing to add to like the little blog post in it. If we could try and replicate the character, our favourite characters. Come on.
No.
Would you not want to see yourself as one of the tripod characters?
No.
Not even with their little grey outfits that they have later on that you showed me.
No, the camp outfits. No.
Oh God.
No.
TJ.
We're not doing cosplay as part of this podcast. We're not.
On.
You can.
Come on.
You can.
I'm trying to think what we have.
Put it on your OnlyFans.
Yeah. I don't have an OnlyFans yet. The world's not that on fire yet that I need to. He says now. We get halfway through this podcast. So yeah, support our Patreon, support my OnlyFans.
Are we done on this conversation, Fraser?
I mean, we can be if you want, or we can keep going. Do you want to go back to the guacamole talk?
Ugh.
No.
Green Ming.
Mushy peas is the next one for.
That green nice.
Yeah.
I like mushy peas.
Hummus is good, yeah. No, that's what I mean, that's the progression. Hummus, guacamole has got to be the next one.
Mushy peas.
If you've got a prediction, I think mushy peas, but actually mushy peas might be the boomers.
Maybe.
I feel mushy peas, hummus, guac. Then the pattern suggests it should be white based.
Wind up the show, Fraser.
Thank you for being in Patreon, really. That's keeping the lights on.
Thanks.
Yeah, just giving us a thank you. This is us saying thank you for saying thank you.
With some inane shite.
A lot of thank yous going around.
Yeah,
it's just amazing, and it gives us an excuse to,
Chat
rewatch stuff and chat more.
Yeah. Peace.
Chat. Yeah, peace and love, and enjoy your recesses whenever you can get them.
Breaks.
Hello everyone, this is Tony, Network Chief of We Made This. As you know, our podcast network brings together a brilliant assortment of talent who talk about all kinds of pop culture content, such as the episode you just listened to. We're not going anywhere, but we'd love to keep the lights on for even longer if you're able to support our network on Patreon. For just £2 a month, you get your name in lights and the satisfaction of knowing you're helping us produce more great audio. And for £3 a month, you'll get your name in lights, but you'll also get access to an exclusive bi-monthly podcast from the We Made This talent pool on podcasting, pop culture, and, well, you tell us. We'll take your suggestions. For less than the price of a coffee per month, you can help keep We Made This going. Just head to patreon.com/We Made This. That's patreon.com/We Made This. And get the ball rolling.
Elsewhere on We Made This.
We dig music.
I like it. I just like it less than Enya.
That was, ladies and gentlemen, the moment where Ian's credibility just disappeared.
I have no problem with that. No problem with that.
I think it's the craziest opinion we've ever had on the show.
It's definitely going to be the most fucking controversial one, I think.
Yeah, it's fine. Because, that's because I'm not moving like a tortoise full of rigor mortis. Which is possibly one of the worst rhyming couplets.
Shipwrecked and Comatose, a Red Dwarf podcast.
Yeah, and I think as we're on a Red Dwarf podcast, something we always gush about is the model work of the first six series of Red Dwarf. And that is outstanding, and it is better than this. But for 1967, the model work in this, I don't see where you could say it was anything other than good quality.
Yeah, it was perfectly acceptable, I think, for the time. It was fun, It was fun. I mean, is it the best example of the model work at the time in these films? No, but I certainly wouldn't say it's particularly shonky in any way.
Frame to frame.
With this being done by Bear McCreary, who I believe you may have interviewed, Sean.
I have. He's brilliant.
What did you make of this score?
I really like it. Bear McCreary is a fabulous horror. I mean, he started on The Walking Dead, so that's really how he got his name, with lots of very interesting noises and ambient textures and things. And on the first Happy Death Day score, he actually used he's got a young daughter, and he used her vocals and distorted them and processed them to create that creepy.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.